Welcome back to the Stretch the Floor podcast. I'm Matthew here, as always, with Venushan, and we are recording on a different day than usual. We're on Thursday today because it's the trade deadline, and it did not disappoint. I was kind of worried because it was like noon, 1 o'clock, and
Yeah,
we didn't really get anything. And then Harden happened, and then this was the best best trade
ever.
deadline in history because an MVP was traded, Sabonis was traded, who's an All-Star. CJ McCollum, Porzingis, so many crazy
So
good
much.
players were traded.
Yeah,
So we're gonna literally talk about every single trade. So I apologize if it's out of order. If this is crazy, we're literally recording like these are like raw reactions. We have not talked about it at all. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about the biggest trade first. Um, we we were making fun of Daryl Morey for being played like a fiddle. But he got the Harden trade done. Now he may have massively overpaid, but let's just talk about this whole situation. What do you think? So the trade is obviously James Harden, Paul Millsap's coming over along with him in exchange for Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and 2 first-round picks. And there's some like weird stuff with those picks. They can defer them or something. I don't really remember or know what it is, but what do you think about the trade?
yeah. So it's the unprotected 2022 first round pick, and then a protected 2027 first round pick, and then James Harden also opted into his player option next year. So he's here for the rest of the season and the next season for 47.3 million. And I don't think this is overpay at all because they were able to keep both their massive youngsters in
Maxi, yeah.
Maxi and Thibault, and those are your starting point guard and your starting small forward. So you have Maxi, Harden, Thibault, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid as starting five. You have elite defense. You have probably one of the best defensive wings in Thibault. You have two guys. You have an MVP like center. Like you have the best like arguable with Jokic, but everyone has
Mhm.
Joel Embiid as a number one center, number one MVP right now. You have another guy who can get you 20 points in Tobias Harris, and then you have James Harden, who's at least like a 20 and 10 guy who could bring the ball up, could be a 30 and 10 guy. And then you on top of that, you have Maxi who could get you 15 and 6. Like I just like this that starting lineup is crazy. They could do everything. They have multiple ball handlers and multiple people who could bring the ball up. They have an elite defensive wing with an elite defensive center. And then they have another 20-point bucket who could just throw the ball into if everyone's doing bad and go get a bucket. They're well rounded. They have shooters off the bench. I know people talking about Seth Curry's subtraction, how big that's going to be. They still have, I know Danny Green's not the biggest name or the greatest, player, but he's still a decent shooter. Like people are still not like leaving him wide open. You know what I mean? Like people still guard him on the 3 point line. Korkmaz is a great shooter.
Mhm.
Niang this year has been a great shooter. Shake Milton is going to get the
Yes.
backup PG responsibilities. He's had flashes where he's been great. He's had flashes where he's been awful. So that's there. And then backup center, people are talking about, oh, how the loss of Drummond is going to thin them out. I think Paul Millsap could play the extra, 12 minutes when Joel Embiid's not going to be on the court in the playoffs. Not even 12 minutes sometimes 8 minutes, 7 minutes. I think Paul Millsap could do a job at backup center for 6, 7 minutes. So I don't think
Mhm.
that loss is too big. I just think I love this team, man. Like they have elite players to bring the ball up and feed their MVP center. They have elite defensive wing, and they have a 20-point score. Like it's an elite team.
Yeah, I love this team too. Harden and Embiid. It's never never something I thought I would see, but
Yeah,
I am so happy we're gonna get to see it. Like that is those are I don't know. I just can't wait to see them play. It's a crazy good team, like you said. And yes, they lost some depth with Seth Curry, with Drummond, but like when this rotation tightens to 7, 6, even maybe in the playoffs, with
yeah,
Harden playing 40 plus minutes and Embiid playing 40 plus minutes. I don't know. Like I do think like I don't know if that's going to be a problem, man. Like when I said overpay, I don't think it was an overpay, but like based on Ben Simmons' value a year ago today, I would think this is an overpay. But like
yeah.
considering where his value is now, where it was now, giving up Ben Simmons 2 first-round picks, which are going to be low, and then like Seth Curry and Drummond, like I don't know that for James Harden, that doesn't seem like an overpay at this moment. So,
Yeah.
but then again, I really like it on the net side too because I really like what they got back.
Yeah. And for the net side, it's gonna be they have great shooting and they have Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. So that's great. And now they add this defensive guy who's gonna actually willingly play center. And he's not gonna start the games at center. LaMarcus Aldridge is gonna start games at center. Andre Drummond's gonna get a couple minutes at center. But when you close games, Ben Simmons is gonna be willing to close at center. And that's just gonna do so much for his game because he could be an elite switch everything defender with Kevin Durant. Him and Kevin Durant can switch on a center, switch on everything. They can have this like really switchy type of defense while also having incredible shooting with like Joe Harris, Seth Curry, and Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant. Like you could just have all surrounded like 40% shooters. This is the closest you'll ever get to like people always describe him as like, oh man, like he wants to be like the honest role, right? Where you just put him at the 5 and he has a bunch of shooting. This is the closest he'll ever get. But he also has like a top 5 talent on his team in Kevin Durant, like all time. And he also has a top 5 talent at point guard of all time in Kyrie Irving to help assist him and help reduce his shots. If Ben Simmons is ever going to succeed, this is the location because he could just set picks. He could still like these guys are guys that don't need the ball to be like super effective. Yeah, I know like Kyrie Irving needs the ball a little bit. Kevin Durant obviously needs the ball to score, but they'll let Ben Simmons be the playmaker and stuff like that. So this is the best situation for him. And I know he must be smiling, like grinning because he's happy. He's so happy that he's on this team.
Yeah, it's not in California, and it's I don't know. I don't know if it was on his list of teams that he wanted to go to, but I literally, like you said, I cannot think of a better place for him to go.
Yeah.
That would allow him to showcase his talents and win at the same time. Because yeah, like I mean, who do you think who's starting at center for them? Marcus Aldridge.
Marcus Aldridge. Yeah.
Yeah, like he's gonna start, but like closing lineup when you need to win, last fourth quarter, whatever. Like it's gonna be Ben Simmons with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Joe Harris, and
Seth Curry.
Seth Curry.
Yeah.
Like we wanted to see Ben Simmons as shooters, and we wanted to see Ben Simmons close as the center, the point center, and that's not an option when you have Joel Embiid. But now we actually get to see that, and man, this is it's crazy. Right? Like I'm still of the opinion that I think you have a better chance to win the championship this year with Harden, but you get Seth Curry and you get Drummond, and then they weren't able to flip those picks for anything, which I think they kind of wanted to do at this deadline. But they're still the best team in the East and still the best team in the NBA, in my opinion. I mean, I know they weren't the best team in the East coming, like they've been on a horrible losing streak, but like talent-wise, I think they're the best team in the East.
Yeah, and it's something crazy to see. Like a 7th seed is viewed as like everyone's like the number one competition. Everyone's like, oh man, that 7th seed is probably gonna win the championship. But that's how good they become, man. Like with this thing, like you could see their defense becoming elite. Because when you have like Kevin Durant and Ben Simmons, like that's gonna help defense out a lot. And we know Kyrie Irving, when playoffs actually come around, he becomes a great defender. Not a great defender, but he becomes a good serviceable defender, which he's just not during the regular season. Like he just doesn't put in the effort. But we all seen it every single year that Kyrie has ever played the playoffs. He's becoming a good defender because he just tries hard enough. Seth Curry is someone that is undersized for the two, but he's always someone who plays a great team defense. Yeah, he might be getting beat one-on-one, but he knows how to like funnel it in, good communication, stuff like that. Joe Harris, kind of same thing. Like, yeah, he gets beat one-on-one and stuff like that. And they're going to attack those two when they're closing the game. Evan's going to attack Joe Harris and Seth Curry. But they know, they're good team defenders and they can, they get the most out of the team defense. But I'm just so excited to see this offense, man. Like, you just have like, you can have like Kevin Durant setting a pick and roll for Ben Simmons. And then like whichever one the center is guarding, you could just like keep switching it over until, get Kevin Durant the center spot. And then Kevin Durant's going to just score in every single center. Or you can have him do it with Steph Curry where like Ben Simmons is a closing center. So you could just have him so quickly, like move out the way, like backdoor cuts and all that stuff and just get a mismatch for Kyrie Irving. And man, it's just such a fun team to think about on paper. And like Ben Simmons is young. He's only 25. He's under contract for a long time. Kevin Durant is under contract for a long time. We knew James Harden wasn't going to re-sign with all these reports. So, James Harden, who has 6 months left, visibly doesn't want to re-sign, is telling Woj all these rumors that he wants to request a trade, but he doesn't want to request a trade. So he's essentially requesting a trade. I think for value, getting Ben Simmons, shooting, picks, which you could later flip in, the off season. I think that's a pretty good haul for them.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. The thing, like, Ben Simmons is not the type of player you can just plug in and it's like, yeah, right away this team is like making sense right away. Like,
Yeah.
when do they need to bring him back by so that they can be like fully on the same page come playoff time? Because I mean, they need to start winning some regular season games too, right?
Yeah.
So like,
I think Ben Simmons is like, he's in a situation where it's like there's already a blueprint for him. And Kevin
Mhm.
Durant's already played with the person that he needs to be a blueprint of, and that's Draymond Green. So I think he can explain it and simplify it to the most like possible, right? He can explain like Draymond Green was a not great shooter, but he playmaker and had an amazing defense. I want you to not be a great shooter, score that 7 points of dunks that
Mhm.
Draymond did, and have amazing playmaking and amazing defense. He's Seth Curry. He's going to be our Klay Thompson. He's going to shoot shots. He's going to be way worse defender, but you get the point, right? On the offense, he's going to be the shooter. Kyrie Irving and me, we're going to be Steph Curry and me, Kevin Durant. Yeah. The only difference is instead of being a motion offense, it's going to be a little more one and twos and a little more, it's just going to be a little more a simplistic offense. ISOs, pick and rolls with different ball handlers. We could see a pick and roll where Ben Simmons is handling the ball
Mhm.
and point guard Kyrie Irving sets the pick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just be that. It's such a unique team, and this is what Ben Simmons is, right? He's such a unique player. Where if you put him in a scenario like this, it's just like endless opportunities that you could just think of. If he's in a possibility like where we are thinking about 2 weeks ago with the Kings, we're like, oh man, him and De'Aaron Fox, I don't know, right? But when you put him on like a team like this, he just like literally has Hall of Fame potential, and like that's how much potential he has. And on the other side, we're talking about another favorite. So I think this is a win-win trade. I think it was a good value for both teams, and I love it for both teams.
It's one of those rare trades. Honestly, I don't know if this has ever happened where like both teams are
MVP,
like enormously happy, yeah, with what they got. Because like,
yeah,
it basically what happened is an all-star caliber player just appeared out of nowhere, right? He didn't exist in the league before, and now
yeah,
he's on a team.
the
So
Nets,
it's so weird, but yeah, man, both teams are happy. If I'm Sixers fans right now, I'm fired up. If I'm Embiid, like Morey came through,
yeah,
like people were doubting Morey, and he came through. So I guess we owe him an apology.
yeah,
He didn't pay 4 first-round picks. He didn't give up Maxi. He didn't give up Thibault.
yeah,
Yeah. When you put it like that, it's definitely a win for them too. Crazy.
yeah. And I just think like the importance of keeping both those young guys is going to be so evident in the playoffs because when James Harden's having those turnovers and bad spells, you have
Mhm.
another guy who could bring the ball up and has been bringing the ball up for the number 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. Like he's been doing pretty good for the first 50 games, and Maxi can still do that in the playoffs. For Spurs
Yeah.
when James Harden's having a turnovers, someone, let's say he's just having trouble with like Fred VanVleet guarding him, and someone easier is on Maxi, right? He has
Yeah.
can have a better chance of that. And when Thibault locks up the best wing defender and wing guards, that's going to be pretty evident for them too. And another cool thing was today was the All-Star draft, and James Harden with the last pick. And you see you seen LeBron joking around with the TNT guys trying to bait Durant into picking him, but Durant was pretty stone cold, and it seems like that friendship kind of is over there with James Harden and Kevin Durant.
I wonder what happened there. I don't know if we'll ever know. I don't know, but
It's they played
yeah.
16 games together and they're 13-3. That big three is going to be one of the biggest what ifs
Yeah.
ever because they played 2 half seasons together,
Mhm.
and they, considering that 16 games that we saw, we thought they were going to win a championship,
Mhm.
but it was crazy, man. Like
Yeah. It was
this
it
is the
was
biggest what if ever.
James Harden's part of the two of the biggest what ifs in NBA history, right? With
Yeah, Chris
OKC and
Paul's
them.
hamstring.
Yeah.
Oh,
Chris Paul
three.
and like OKC, being traded for
Yeah,
OKC. So three of the biggest what ifs in NBA history. Yeah. But we have 16 trades to get to, and we're 15 minutes into talking about James
yeah,
Harden. So let's move on. Porzingis got traded today. And for Spencer Dinwiddie to the Wizards. I'm looking for the exact
Davis
details right
Bertans.
now. And Davis Bertans, right. Where did
And the
it
Wizards
go?
got
Do
a
you
second
remember?
round pick. Yeah, I would say this one.
Okay,
So
okay.
Spencer Dinwiddie and Bertans go to the Mavericks, and the Wizards get Porzingis and a second round pick.
Okay.
So I think this is a huge W for the Wizards. And hear me out, because I see
Okay.
all these cap experts and everyone saying how this is better for uh, the Mavs because they have two smaller contracts that they can move, attach picks and stuff like that. Porzingis is expiring next season. He just has this year and next year left. You could have just waited it out, let him expire, let him go. Instead, you get
Mhm.
guys with 4 years left. Davis Bertans has a 4-year contract. After this year, he has 4 years left at 16 million. Unless you attach two picks, no one wants that. Spencer Dinwiddie has
Bertans is
17
16
million.
mil. Are
16
you kidding me?
million.
I did not know
He's
that.
the worst contract in the league. And the Mavericks traded for him.
Oh my god.
Then Spencer Dinwiddie has 17.8 left for the next 2 years, including this year.
Hmm.
So you have Spencer Dinwiddie, who's averaging what, like 10 points and like 6 assists, and your backup point guard and your
Yeah.
sixth man at 18 mil. And then you have someone who's might not crack your rotation at 16 mil, and you're gonna have to attach first round picks to get rid of both of them. This is a horrible trade, and I have no idea what the Mavericks are doing. The cap experts aren't factoring in that Porzingis' contract ends way sooner. And I think this is one of those years where we're gonna see Luka struggle and people are gonna put a lot of blame on Luka because they're just not the second star to blame for Mavericks. Like it's Luka's score. Like no one on this team besides Luka has potential to like. I guess Jalen Brunson has elevated himself into potential 20-point scorer. But like I would have loved to see three potential 20-point scorers play together. I don't know why you have to get rid of the third one. I don't know, man.
Hmm.
I have no understanding of why the Mavericks do this.
When you put it like that, I agree with you. I mean, like when I first saw this, I kind of thought it was like, I don't know, Dinwiddie's not that good and Porzingis isn't that good anymore either. Like it's kind of whatever.
Yeah,
But like when you put the contracts in perspective and it becomes like a cap thing, it really like,
it's
man,
horrible.
how many years did you say Bertans has? Four
Four
more
more.
years? Four
Yeah.
more. That's wild. That is
Yeah.
crazy. I don't know what they're thinking. Like because it's not like this helps them this year. It's not like I mean, yeah, they could have used another ball handler and they got that in Dinwiddie, but like really, you think Dinwiddie's gonna win you a playoff series? Like I don't know. I'm confused. I'm confused about this trade. I don't know who wins, but when you like basketball wise, I think it's like pretty nothing. I don't know if anyone wins basketball
Wash.
wise, but
Yeah.
like money wise, when you put it like that. So what's the case that other people are bringing up for saying the Mavs won?
It's just, can you move $16 million contracts? Yeah. You've always been able to move $16 million contracts,
True, true.
and they will be able to move them. I'm not saying they're not going to be able to move them. Like, I think as soon as like this draft, they could move those. I don't think those guys will be going into the Mavericks like season next season, right?
Yeah.
But you will have to attach draft capital and stuff to do that. And I just thought you could let uh like Porzingis, kind of fade away his contract. You could attach draft capital to get rid of Tim Hardaway Jr. Then you get like one like guy back like that. But they're going a different route where they have to attach draft capitals to get rid of these Spencer
Mhm.
Dinwiddie and Bertans guys. I guess at the end of the day, we're not in the like talking about trades with other GMs. So I guess like the Mavericks just found it impossible to trade Porzingis because we've seen like it's been like 2 days now since Porzingis was available. Like we've seen the Raptors were in
Mhm.
talks with him and stuff like that. And it just seems like no one wanted Porzingis, and maybe they just want it to happen next year, like something abrupt. Maybe they want it to happen before like the Jalen Brunson contract kicks in. So they trade the picks, get it done in the draft, they get their guy in. Then Jalen Brunson is only on like a 1 million cap hold. Then you re-sign him, and that's how you go over the cap. So yeah, this all has to do with the Jalen Brunson situation because they're going to re-sign him 100% now. Like it's a
Yeah.
guarantee lock.
Yeah.
Like Mavericks fans are like scared because like Dinwiddie's going to replace him. No, like Brunson's a lock. He is the second star next to him. That's a lock. Just expect the Mavericks to be one of the most active teams come the draft to reshape this roster. And for the Wizards, man, I think this is great. You get rid of these long-term contracts. You're going to suck this year. Go get a top pick. Next year, you can have Beal coming back. You can have Porzingis on a 1 year expiring. Let let Porzingis' contract run out.
Hmm.
Let your top pick play here. You can have a bunch of these guys. You can have Kuzma getting more minutes. You can have Kispert getting more minutes shooting threes. You can have Denny Avdija running point guard. Something we wanted to see when he got drafted. We're like, oh, this guy could be like a Gordon Hayward, or he could have a lot of playmaking opportunities. Instead, he became
Yeah.
like an elite ball stopper, an elite defender. But now he's gonna have that playmaking chance. Rui Hachimura is gonna get more minutes now, be able to dunk. Another trade we could just go straight into it. About since we're talking about the Wizards, is they traded Montrezl
Harold.
Harrell,
Yeah.
and they were able to get back PJ Washington and Ish Smith. I think that's a great haul for them.
Didn't they get Vernon Carey too? Our guy, Vernon Carey.
Vernon Carey, our
He's our
guy.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about that trade. Yeah, because yeah, I don't
I
know. I
love it.
like it. I like
I
it. Yeah.
love it for the Wizards, and I
Mhm.
hate it for the Hornets.
Hate it really for the Hornets.
Yeah.
I mean,
I just don't think Montrezl Harrell is a center. Is a good
yeah,
center
no, he's
in
not.
the NBA.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are expecting him to be a good center.
Hornets
And
got their center, Montrezl Harrell. Sorry, that's not the case. Yeah.
and I think the Hornets are just doubling down into this philosophy that offense wins games and
Mhm.
defense doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And it's never worked out before. But hey, the Hornets are trying to be the first NBA franchise to prove that. They already don't play the great defense, and they just got probably one of the worst defensive centers who is going to play 35 minutes for them a night. So the Hornets are going to suck defensively, be great offensively. It's going to be fun to watch, but they're going to win not a single playoff series. They'll win games though, because LaMelo and Miles were just good enough to win you games. And on the Wizards part, PJ Washington is a guy that you could build. You know, he has potential. Play small ball 5, play small ball, play normal size 4. He has potential to improve. So I think
Mhm.
that's a good pickup for the future because teams like the Raptors and stuff next season might be interested to acquire him and might, trade certain
Yeah.
assets and stuff like that for him. So I think that was really good by the Wizards. Wizards had a really good season at trade deadline because they also had one more trade where they traded away Aaron Holiday to the Suns. And we don't even know what they got back. It's probably like a super protected second round pick. So they
Mhm.
essentially got back nothing. But that trade was just to free up the spot to get in the 3 Hornets players. But man, I'm looking at all these moves the Wizards did, and it's kind of like, let's tank this season. Let's
Yeah.
get tradable assets and better people, and let's try to go for next season. And I think that's a good idea. And if they get Chet Holmgren, I'm pretty sure everyone will be doubling down and saying that's a great idea.
Yeah. I don't want to say that Beal's injury was a good thing because injuries
Yeah,
are
it's
never a good
never
thing,
good.
but it's kind of working out for them. Beal,
Yeah,
he's just out, let him recover from the surgery and then just suck, right? You have all
yeah,
these young
just
guys. You let Denny Avdija do his thing. You let I don't know, just yeah, you got off some bad contracts and
let
yeah,
Kuzma go off.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, let
Yeah,
Kuzma go off. Yeah. Let's move on to talking about the Raptors because they traded Goran Dragic. Finally, Goran Dragic hasn't played a game since I don't know what month it was, November maybe, something like that.
November. Yep,
November, he
November.
hasn't played. They traded him to the Spurs for Thad Young, who was supposed to be the biggest name on the buyout market, and he's on our Raptors now.
He's
He's a
not
good
getting bought
player.
out. Yeah,
Yeah, he's not getting bought out. He's a good player, don't get me wrong, but kind of a power forward was, I think, the last thing the Raptors needed. A guard would have been better. So what do you think about the Goran Dragic trade for both sides?
people are overreacting because we traded our pick, and I think I first overreacted to when I first saw it, but that's also because they haven't factored in that we're also getting back a 2022 second round pick via the Pistons. So yes, the Raptors traded Goran Dragic and a protected 2022 first round pick. It's protected 1 to 14. Raptors are
Mm-hmm.
the 6th seed. So the Spurs are going to get it. The Spurs are going to get around like 17th pick, right? The Raptors pick. And then we're going to get like what, 30, 31st,
Yeah,
32nd pick,
literally. Yeah.
right? So we move 15 spots down in the draft to get Thad Young, a player who will actually play minutes on our team, a player who instantly becomes our best bench player, our 6th man. And I think the key for this is, yes, he's on a 1 year deal, but we get his bird rights, so we can re-sign him with our cap situation and everything. And another key situation is, again, cap was a pretty big deal for this trade because this drops us 3.75 million below the tax. So obviously that means we're away from the tax. We don't have to pay the luxury tax, all that stuff, which means in the future, because Raptors are edging closer and closer to a luxury tax team, right? Once these contracts end up, the starters have been playing so good where each of the starters are valued at like 25 million right now on the market. So they're going to be a luxury tax team. So getting under the luxury tax max to avoid like the repeater tax and everything is very important for the Raptors owners and stuff. So they're like, until those, those first five get their new contracts, we're going to try to avoid the tax. That's what, like, that was the main part of this trade. And then Thad Young instantly becomes the sixth man of the, like, sixth man for this Raptors team.
Six man of the last third of the season.
He was the sixth man of
Right.
the year last third of the season last year. Like for the Bulls, he was the sixth man of the year. Yeah, he plays great. He's one of those players that does everything. Play makes a little bit, rebounds a little bit, shoots a three a little bit, can score inside a little bit, score in the mid range a little bit. Can play small ball five, which I expect him to play a decent amount of minutes at. Play the four, even play the three sometime for us. He'll be a good fit, man. And I think for the Spurs side of it, you get a first round pick, you move 15 spots up the draft for a guy that wasn't on your roster. Cool. They're happy with that.
Yeah. They bought out Dragic. If you just to add to that, so I guess
we
Mavs
waived.
But I mean, like, did the Mavs need him? I don't know. Yeah, we waived Drew Eubanks. Yeah. So like I said, I would have rather have gotten a guard, but like realistically, what guard were we getting for Goran Dragic? I can't think of one off the top of my head. So buyout versus getting Thad Young. Give me Thad Young. Like,
And we didn't lose a pick. People keep saying we lost the first round pick.
Yeah, we moved down in the draft.
We moved down 15 spots in the draft. That's all.
Like say that pick. Say instead of that second round pick, we got like Milwaukee's first round pick or something.
Same
like
thing.
People be like, oh, we got a first round pick. It's literally the same thing.
It's
right?
literally one spot difference.
Yeah.
and that second round picks give us way more cap flexibility because you could sign them to a contract which doesn't have a structure already put in place. Because when you have signed first round picks, like the 17th pick gets paid this much money for 4 years. You know what I mean? Like they already have contracts in place. So moving to a second round pick might just be another way of saving more money and being better for the future. Another Raptors, version of cap structure and all that stuff.
Yeah, Masai playing some 40 chess. I think Raptors fans are gonna like that Young. Okay, what should we move on to next? Should we move on to the 4-team trade?
Or should we do the Spurs?
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the Spurs.
The huge Spurs trade, which I was kind of shocked to see, and that was Derek White getting traded for Josh Richardson and Romeo Langford. But this is what I liked about this part of the trade. They got another 2022 first round pick, protected 1 to 4. So they'll probably get it like 15, 16. So the Spurs are just loading up on the picks. They kind of have one pick in the lottery, which could be anywhere from 1 to 14, which is their pick. They can have 2 picks, which are late teens, early 20s in the Celtics and Raptors. And yeah, they lost Derek White. Huge loss. Great defender, great spot 3-point shooter. Very smart player. Their team definitely did get worse from this trade, but at the end of the day, how many guards do the Spurs have, Rand? Like, Jonathan Murray is their point guard for the future, so they're talking about shooting guards. You got Joshua Primo, who you drafted in the lottery last year, who's developing and who's looking good, showing flash potentials. You got Lonnie Walker, who's probably getting re-signed this year. So he's going to be on a little bigger deal. You want to get him some playing time, want to potentially start him and see if he's starter quality. Then you got Devin Vassell, who is like the backup small forward kind of thing right now. But Devin Vassell is only like 6'6", 6'5". So if you want to slide Devin Vassell the shooting guard, you could do that and test that out and see if that works better with, Keldon Johnson and Doug McDermott. And then Josh Richardson, someone who could come in and kind of do what Derek White did, at obviously not as good of a level, but he could do what Derek White did, play make a little, shoot the three a little, defend a little bigger body too. So I like this, man. Like, yeah, you get a little worse. You kind of help your tank out, kind of help you get a higher pick. And you got another top like 16, 17 pick. I think I like it. And I like Spurs in this draft. I think they're going to be one of the huge players this draft.
Yeah, like Derek White's good. Like that's a big loss, but like when you think about the log jam of guards, right? Of guys 6'6", 6'5", and under that need to get playing time. Like Derek White's really
Crazy.
good, but how much are you really going to lose because those guys are just going to kind of soak up and like step up into the minutes that he's leaving, right? And
Yeah.
then, like you said, you get another first round pick. So Spurs are finally doing it. The Spurs are finally just like full on tanking. I'm kind of surprised Jakob Priddle didn't get moved because it seems like centers um, were getting
We're in high
moved, or
demand.
big men were getting moved in high demand
Yeah.
at this deadline, but I guess there wasn't a trade out there. But yeah, Spurs are looking like they hold the keys to this draft, and that's exciting. I want to see what they do.
Yeah. I like it, man. And to be fair, like, has the Spurs really drafted bust? They're kind of pretty good at drafting, man.
Yeah, we'll see how Josh Primo turns out.
I'm
He's
high on
from
him.
Toronto, so we have
Uh,
to be high on him. So we'll see. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, Lonnie Walker like didn't look so good right away, but he's pretty good now, right? Like
Looks good now. Yeah.
he's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay, where should we go next? Should we go to that Bucks trade with Serge Ibaka and all those guys, or what do you think? Portland?
How about we do the Celtics since they got
Mhm. Yeah.
Derek White?
Okay. Okay. Oh,
They
we
ship,
didn't even talk about the Celtics side of this yet. Yeah.
yeah. So they got Derek
Yeah.
White,
Yeah. Mhm.
and that allowed them to ship out Dennis Schroeder and Ennis Freedom
Yeah.
to the Rockets for Daniel Tice. Ennis Freedom got waived, so Rockets got Dennis Schroeder. They waived DJ Augustine and Amari Brooks. The Rockets basically just got this guy. They're gonna play him a little bit, trying to make him teach KPJ a little bit. And also, Dennis Schroeder's on expiring, or Daniel Tice has 3 years left. So they kind of just want to get off some cap for the future. So that's the Rockets part, purely cap. Boston's part, they get their guy in Derek White, who's a better defender, who's a better shooter, who's a better playmaker than a shooter. Not a better scorer, but a better fit, like from the Spurs trade, right? He's a better fit next to Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum, and Jalen Brown. So that's good for them. And then Daniel Tice is just another big body that they could put on this bench. And I just like their bench now because they can have a starting lineup of Smart, Brown, Tatum, Horford, Time Lord. That's their starting five. And off the bench now they have six men Derek White, seventh man Daniel Tice. I like that. I like
Yeah.
that a lot. And an eighth man Grant Williams.
Mhm.
That's a good bench. That's a good bench. That's a good eight-man rotation. You know, shore up come playoff time is going to be eight men anyways. The coach has been playing good. They're on a good win streak. Brad Stevens has proven that he is a much better GM than
Mhm.
Danny Ainge because he's actually making moves. And I
Mhm.
like this man. I like Brad Stevens as a GM. He goes for it. He uses picks. He makes trades, and I really think the Celtics improved a lot this trade deadline.
I agree. And they traded Bol and PJ Dozier for a future second round pick they just
Yeah,
dumped some cash, so whatever.
clear up some cap.
Yeah, Derek White on this team is awesome. Like six man, there's your six man, and
Yeah,
they got a top 10 center in Daniel Tice because Celtics Daniel Tice
yeah.
is a top 10 center. Like the bubble Daniel Tice versus the Raptors was like literally like
Like
could have been the series
Jokic.
MVP. Like he was literally Jokic. Like he was so good. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's a nice 7 man rotation you listed out there. So yeah, good moves here by the Celtics. Man, the East is like such a crazy logjam. Like it could go
yeah,
any way. So if you're anywhere near contention, like the Wizards, it makes sense that they tank because like without Beal, you're not doing anything. But if you're like
yeah,
anywhere near that 10 spot, that 9 spot, like might as well because you could easily get a top 6 seed. So I really like this move.
yeah, yeah. It was crazy to see. I think this really is going to push them pretty high, and I think Derek White's going to be so good that next season
Mm,
I think they're going to trade Marcus Smart because that's how good I think Derek
mm,
White's going to be.
mm.
I think he's just going to be the perfect player around the two J's
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah,
he's just such a good like catch and shoot guy,
yeah.
defender, hard nose, and then Marcus Smart's like lack of a shot is just going to cost them. I think he's gonna get traded for like a power forward or like something in the offseason. I think Derek White, I'm so high on him that he's gonna convince that. And I know like everyone in like the comments are gonna be like, Derek White's trash at shooting. Look at this percentage this year. He's been having a little tough time this year. I'm not gonna kid myself, but I think like if you look at his jump shot, you look at his form, you look at his previous years and stuff, I think he's the type of player that will bounce back and will get back to being a good 3-point shooter.
And ask to do probably less, you like
Just catch and shoot.
Clear pecking order. Yeah, just catch and shoot. That's all you got to do. Play some defense. Basically, be like Marcus Smart with like a better shot, and like
Yeah,
you're
literally.
good, right? So
Yeah.
literally, and just don't think you're the hero so much and going like you're thinking you're like Steph Curry, too much. Yes. Okay. Let's see. We didn't talk about.
Okay, we talked about the Suns very briefly about them
Very
getting.
briefly, yes.
So let's talk about the other trade that they did, which was acquiring Torrey Craig for Jalen Smith and a future second round pick. Let's talk about just the Suns part, because the Pacers will have another big trade about them, and we'll talk about Jalen Smith then. But the Suns got Torrey Craig and Aaron Holiday for 2 second round picks and Jalen Smith. Aaron Holiday, he's not going to get much minutes. This is just, like worst case, anything happens, to Booker, CP3, when campaign has to start or whatever, we have someone who could, come off the like third string point guard. We have one of the best third string point guards, third string shooting guards, and it cost them a second round pick, so it didn't cost them anything. So Aaron Holiday pickup, I think we could all agree was a pretty solid pickup.
Yep.
And the Torrey Craig pickup, just another guy, wing, shoot the ball, play amazing defense, just get in there, playoff time. If you need a little defense, a little something, that's good for him. And you just have such a good center rotation already, with Bismack Biyombo looking like 2016 Bismack Biyombo. So I think and JaVale McGee looking like Warriors JaVale McGee. Like, I think it was just time to, let Jalen Smith's wings spread, let him go. And I think this was a good trade. People were like, it was a good trade for the Pacers, because we don't even mention it, because every single other franchise was like, why didn't we get Jalen Smith if this is all it costs? Just Torrey Craig, no picks, and they got a pick with Jalen Smith. That's how you know you did well, when every other team wants your guys.
No, just like a lot of these little trades are like pretty smart, but like I'd like it for both sides. Okay, before we get on, should we just pivot right to the other Pacers trade, or no? Let's finish up today. Okay, let's get this 14 trade out of the way. Okay, so where did it go? Okay, so I lost it. Serge Ibaka is on the Bucks now. That's what I remember. But I can't find the exact trade. You know it?
Oh, number seven.
There we go. Okay, so here we go. So the Kings got Dante DiVincenzo from the Bucks, and Trey Lyles and Josh Jackson. The Bucks got Serge Ibaka, 2 second-round picks. The Clippers got Rodney Hood, Semi Ojeleye, and the Pistons got Marvin Bagley. So there was a Bleacher Report update about this trade that said blockbuster 4-team trade headlined by Marvin Bagley. And I'm like, if a trade is headlined by Marvin Bagley, it's not a blockbuster trade. So what is this trade?
The reason BR did that was this was before, the huge James Harden trade, which set off all the dominoes. So they're like, oh man, we're getting no clicks today. Blockbuster trade, Marvin Bagley. They needed clicks and they were getting desperate. They're like, oh God, nothing's happening. But yeah, it was pretty funny to see. At the end of the day, this was a trade that made sense for everyone, because it was just small pieces that needed to be moved.
Yeah.
From the Clippers part, they get rid of what? They get rid of Serge Ibaka. They get a little less tax money. They save like 20 million, even though his contract's like 9 million. But like, with tax and luxury tax things, they save like 20 million to get Rodney Hood and Semi Ojeleye. 2 guys who aren't going to be on the team next year. It's just to save money this year. For the Bucks point, they get 2 future seconds, pretty solid, and they get Serge Ibaka, someone who could be a bench center, who could shoot the ball a little bit, shoot the 3 a little bit. If Brook Lopez isn't able to return, or if Brook Lopez isn't able to return to 100%, Serge Ibaka's pretty close to Brook Lopez, man. They're pretty comparable players. They're like as close as you could be.
Yeah.
So there's your center depth, and I think that's great depth signing. And from the Pistons point, you get Marvin Bagley Jr. half a season.
Yeah.
If he sucks for half a season, he's gone.
Yeah.
If he's amazing for half a season, you have his bird rights, resign him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it makes 100% sense for the Pistons to do it. And then for the Kings, you just traded away. We'll talk about this massive trade, but you trade away your starting shooting guard, You got a power forward in return, so you're kind of looking for more guard depth. And
Hmm.
Dante DiVincenzo could come in and be a starting shooting guard, 3 and D, shoot the ball at a decent clip. Obviously, he's been pretty bad this year, but that's because he's just returning from a big injury. I think
Hmm.
if you give him some time, give him like another month, I think he could get back to Dante DiVincenzo, who was a very good defender and very good 3-point shooter. And then when you have Fox and Sabonis as your big two players, that's the guy who you kind of need, 3 and D guys. The one thing that this does worry me out was the Kings did sit out Holmes intentionally, like the day before the trade deadline, to trade him, and they couldn't. So is Holmes coming off the bench now? That sucks because that's like your fourth best player who has to come off your bench. So they're not the greatest team like fit wise,
Hmm.
but I think this is a trade that helps them get better fit wise.
Yeah, I would have taken Holmes. That's a Raptors fan. I would have taken him. But I don't know what the price was. Uh, yeah. So,
Yeah,
what was I gonna say? Yeah. So,
DiVincenzo's a
yeah,
good fit.
you trade away Tyrese Halliburton and you get like Dante DiVincenzo, who's like at his best is like Tyrese Halliburton light. Like he's like kind of like two steps down
Uh,
from Tyrese Halliburton, like at his
take
best.
away all the playmaking.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah,
take away basically, right? And then yeah, I mean like but Bagley to the Pistons, like it just makes too
great.
much sense, right? Just
Yeah,
keep throwing stuff at the wall, see what sticks. And then Ibaka, like I mean, Ibaka, I don't really expect him to move the needle too much, but like I can see him having one playoff game. It's like, oh, Ibaka has like 4 threes and 2 blocks in like three
wins you
quarters
that game.
in this one random playoff game, right? And it wins you
Yeah,
that game, right? So like, yeah, why not? Just like kind of a nothing trade, but like low key, kind of good for every side except that's okay for the Kings. But yeah, that Holmes thing might be a problem.
yeah, yeah. This trade was good for the Kings. It's just they weren't able to make the second trade,
Yeah.
which they were trying. They were trying. It's just, man, I don't know. I just feel like they were asking too much or something. Because in my opinion, I think the Hornets would much rather have Holmes than
Oh
Montrezl.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So they offered PJ Washington, Ish Smith, and Vernon Carey. I think they should have took it. They didn't take it, and I think it's gonna bite them in the butt. I think having to
Hmm.
play who they're gonna have to start now. Hobby like Terrence Davis at the shooting guard, Dante DiVincenzo at the small forward, and
Not
HB.
Davion.
Oh, I think Davion is so good at that like 6-man role and
Yeah.
like just
Yeah.
someone who can initiate offense and everything. They're gonna be a fun playing team. They're gonna be a fun playing team.
Yeah. Yeah, they will. They will. I mean, they
Yeah,
needed to shake things up big time and they did. So
yeah.
we'll see what happens, man. Okay, so the Miami Heat did something relatively minor. Did they make 2 trades today?
No, they made
Uh
one trade, but it's pretty obvious why they made this trade. They basically traded a second round pick, 2026, in exchange for KZ Bala. So
mhm.
basically, they just opened up a roster spot to sign their boy Dragic back because now he's eligible to sign with them.
Yeah.
He's gonna get bought out and he's going to Miami. Enjoy
Yeah.
Dragic.
Mavs got Dinwiddie. They don't need Dragic anymore, right?
Yeah. So I hope Dragic wins the championship with them because I'm gonna be rooting for Kyle Lowry after the
Hmm.
Raptors get eliminated, if the Raptors get eliminated.
Yeah, it's a big
But
if.
yeah, I would be rooting for the Heat. So Dragic, go to Miami. I know he didn't
Yes.
even leave Miami when he got traded to us, so he's probably still in Miami. So
He's been on their bench this whole time in the street
yeah,
there.
he just been behind them. He just bought the first, he just bought the front row tickets and just sitting there. So yeah,
Yeah.
he's already going there. It's the biggest lock of all time. It's gonna be fun to see, though.
Yeah. Is that it for today? Do we have to go back to yesterday and the day before now,
let's
or?
do let's do the Halliburton trade.
Okay, yeah, let's do it. Okay, so the second biggest trade of the trade deadline week
Yeah,
was one that I at least I didn't see coming. Indiana was very involved in this trade deadline. So let's get into this one. So obviously everyone knows Sabonis to the Kings, along with the second round pick, Justin Holiday, Jeremy Lamb, Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton, Tristan Thompson, and Buddy Hield. So I think I don't know. I want to hear your take on this 2 days later because yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
I think you're the only person who doesn't think this is horrible out of their mind for the Kings. I absolutely hate this. How do you trade a guy? This is a franchise which no one wants to play for. Like
Yeah.
Like NBA players like Solomon Hill are like, oh man, I feel bad for you because you tore your
Mhm.
Achilles injury. Like Buddy Hield said that, and he's like, "Oh man, I feel bad for you. You're still on the Kings." Like, it's a laughing stock of an
Yeah.
organization. People go here to get overpaid. Like, no one wants to be here, and then you have this young kid who's shooting the ball well, distributing the ball well, super efficient, good at rebounding, average 19 and 10 when he actually got the point guard's like responsibilities. Said he's going to change the culture. Said he's going to be here for the long run, do all that stuff, and then you just trade him. Like, you don't trade players like that. You don't trade players who are in their second year, averaging 14.7 assists on great efficiency with low turnovers. You just don't trade those guys. The only time you trade those guys is if you're winning a championship. If you have Tyrese Halliburton and you're like the Clippers, and you can get someone like Sabonis who's going to win you a championship that one season, yeah, do it. Obviously, then we're talking about like, yeah, that's a fair trade. Like trading Shea. Like when they traded Shea
Mhm.
for Paul George. You're going
Mhm.
to win a championship. You moved a championship caliber team. That was a good trade. But everyone knew Shea was going to be a dog. Everyone knew Shea was going to be a great young point guard. Everyone knows Tyrese Halliburton is going to be like in that Shea mold and is going to be a great young point guard. But you traded him to be a fringe playoff team, not a contender. So that's why it's just a horrible trade.
See, I agree with all of that, but I don't know. This is the way I see it. Like to me, Sabonis is better than
Yeah,
Halliburton, and Sabonis is better than Heald. And it's like I always like getting the best player back in a trade, and I do
yeah,
think their team makes more sense. We're gonna get. I mean, they still have Holmes, but we're gonna get to see Sabonis like unleashed at the
yeah.
five with Fox with a good point guard. I mean, he had a good point guard in Brogdon, but he's gonna have a. I don't know. I like him on the Kings. I'll say that. And then yes, value wise, I think Tyrese Halliburton's value combined with Buddy Hield's value might be more than Sabonis, who is only 25.
Yeah.
You can't forget. I just like getting the best player back in the trade, and I think he has a lot of room to get better too. Because not so much this year, but last year he was like pretty awesome, and he's still really good. He's averaging like 19 points or something. I just really like Sabonis, and I wanted to see him in a better situation. So that's why I like this trade.
Yeah,
I
I would
agree
agree.
that like if you're looking at the scales value wise, yes,
Yeah.
they gave him too much, but like you're getting the best player back, and I don't. And even in 4 years, I think Sabonis is a better player than Halliburton. You might disagree with me on that, but
I disagree
I
with
still
that.
think so. I mean,
But
he's in
let's
his
say,
second year. Like Sabonis is a guy who is a center who like if he puts up a triple double, it's like, oh cool, it's a triple double. It's not like, oh my
yeah.
god, he put up a triple double. You know what I mean? So
Well, how does this team get better now? You have Darren Fox, Justin Holiday, Dante DiVincenzo, Harrison Barnes, and Sabonis as your starters. Then you have off the bench, you have uh, David Mitchell, Jeremy Lamb, Terrence Davis, Rashawn Holmes. That's a good team. Way better team than it
mhm.
was before
Yeah,
all these trades.
yeah.
I agree with that. This team is going to make the play in this year and potentially makes the playoffs this year, ending their 15-year drought. And if we're saying the Kings just needed to end that 15-year drought no matter what this year, or if the team gets moved or something like that, then that makes sense. And that's what the pressure the owner might feel. But this team is never going to win a championship. And this team is always going to be a 7 to 10 seed. They just became the new age Pacers. That's what they became. The Pacers were always a 7 to 10 seed ever since they traded Paul George. And that's what they became. The Kings became a 7 to 10 seed, which is way better than what they've been for the last 15 years. I give them
Mhm.
that. And maybe they can remove this stigma about them being the hell of basketball. Because that's what, even all the Kings fans are calling themselves that. Maybe they remove that stigma and it becomes much better for them. Yeah, like this is something that only Sacramento does because they have to end this 15-year drought. But just if you want to be that 7 to 10 seed every year and be the Indiana Pacers of the current like the new generation, that's okay, I
Mhm.
guess. But at the end of the day, even mediocre teams don't sell out stadiums and stuff. You can see Pacers are like a mediocre team and they sell tickets for $1 and can't get them sold out, right? When you have young potential players and young prospects like Chet Holmgren, stuff like that, that's when you actually get sick ticket sales and stuff. And you combine like a Chet with a Tyrese, you know what I mean? Like you want to be entertaining and fun, you have to like tank and get those guys. But I don't know. It's gonna be like a 7 to 8 team make the fringe playoffs for the next half a decade.
Yeah. So like you say, how could they improve? But I would say like even if they did hang on to Halliburton and those guys, like what would you rather have them do? Like wait for Towns to ask out and trade him for Towns or something? Or what do you think the other way would be?
I think you could just trade Fox to like
True. True.
stuff in like trade Fox for stuff in the stuff besides our in New York and just tank
Mm-hmm.
for a little while. Get like Chet Holmgren. And I know it's like you're suggesting a tank for a team that didn't make the playoffs for 15 years.
Yeah.
So I think this was more of a business decision, whereas like we have to make
Mm-hmm.
playoffs rather than a basketball decision where it's like this is the best for our basketball future.
Yeah. Might be. Yeah. Yeah. All like I mean, Kings fans are unhappy with this trade, but like it's nothing against Sabonis. I think everyone understands Sabonis is a good player. And he's good.
Okay,
Like you
is
said,
it's
they're
just
a better
losing
team now. They're a better team now. They're like a 15 to 20% better team in my opinion.
100%.
So
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So what else did we want to talk about the
CJ
Blazers?
McCollum
Yeah,
trade,
let's
man.
talk about the Blazers. Another
Yeah.
team that needed to do something. Yeah. So everyone knows what happened. Do you want to explain it? Because I'm gonna mess something up if I
Yeah.
try to explain this whole thing.
So the Blazers did a lot. They traded CJ McCollum, Larry Nance, and Tony Snell for Josh Hart, Thomas Satoransky, Nikhil Alexander, and Didi Vucevic for a 2022 protected first round pick and 2 second round picks. The protection on this pick is pretty complicated because if it lands between 1 to 4, the Blazers keep it. The Pelicans keep it. If it lands between 5 and 14, the Blazers get it. And if it lands from 15 to 30, the Hornets get it, and then the Blazers get next year's pick at 2023. So they're still gonna get a pick. I'm pretty sure they're gonna get it next year instead of this year, because I think the Hornets are gonna get it this year because I think the Pelicans are gonna make the playoffs. I know that was a lot. So basically, they got next year's pick, Josh Hart. They kind of rerouted Nikhil Alexander Walker, which I kind of
Mm-hmm.
hated for them.
Yeah.
And they rerouted Nikhil Alexander Walker to get Joe Ingles and the 2nd round pick. Like I hated that for them. I really like Nikhil Alexander Walker, and I think he could have done great stuff as a small forward. But also, I'll say my bias is evident. He is a Canadian. I have like seen him play, so obviously I'm gonna be extremely biased to him. Same with you. So hey, maybe he's not as good as we see him because he's a Canadian and we like him. But us and a couple NBA junkies think he could be really good. So I think that was a bad move. But essentially, this was the Blazers blowing it up. They got
Yeah.
bare cap space now, couple picks coupled with that Norman Powell trade we talked about last weekend. They got more cap space now, more picks. They're gonna have people on the contract like Josh Hart, Dame, and they're gonna have enough to sign one max player. But who are they gonna sign, man? He wants that super max. And if he doesn't get that super max, he's not gonna go to Portland, I think at least.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to re-sign Anthony Simons. Like what do they want to do? Like
Harden
there's
opted in, right? Like
Harden opted in. Aiton's getting matched no matter what.
mhm.
Like you could throw Aiton in a max, but he's gonna get matched. So their ideal situation is Damian Lillard, sign Bradley Beal, keep Josh Hart, get Jeremy Grant, trade picks for him, get Jeremy Grant, resign Nurkic, and then have 6 man Anthony Simons. That's like the Blazers front office, like best case scenario. Like that's what they have like written out on top of
how
the
much
board,
how much better is
thinking
that
it's it,
team than like
like CJ and Norm and stuff, right?
yeah, like I don't know. But I don't know, man. Like so they're I agree with you about the Nikhil thing, but obviously we're biased. He's from Hamilton.
Yeah.
Without getting into like all the nitty gritty, I mean, I like Larry Nance Jr. too, so I don't like them giving up on him. But what was I gonna say? So their plan apparently is to build around Dame going forward. Now you listed out what that looks like, and it's like, oh, nice, you got Dame and you got a bunch of cap space, but like cap space
Yeah.
is worth nothing if you don't sign players worth that cap space, right? And like realistically, are they getting Beal? I don't think so. Like you said, Aiton, they're probably not getting. I don't think. So is it the smart move to build around Dame, or do you think the smarter move is to not build around Dame.
The question is Beal. If Beal's the only player that could make the fans believe that they're contenders again, if
Mhm.
Beal's gone, that's it. Dame's gone too. Beal resigns a super max with the Wizards, or he goes and signs with like I don't know whoever, like the Lakers or something, right? Like they like rework contracts, get him to Lakers or whatever. That's it. Dame's gone. So all stakes are in Bradley Beal because James Harden is not going to go there. Aiden's going to get matched. He's going to get a max from some other team. Sun's going to match it. Same with Miles Bridges. He's going to get a big contract from some other team. Hornets going to match it. So that leaves Bradley Beal. Because if you get just Jeremy Grant, keep Anthony Simons. If your team is Dame, Anthony Simons, uh, Josh Hart, Grant, and Nurkic, you're not doing anything. Another scenario could be, let's say they miss out on Beal, but they got a top 3 pick. Now, can you trade Chet Holmgren for Cat?
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
someone, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe, but you're putting your risk into two. They have all their eggs in 2 baskets: a top 3 pick,
Yeah.
or Bradley Beal.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not one basket. They said don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
They put it in 2 baskets. Both those baskets fails. We're gonna see Damian Lillard on a brand new team next season.
Yeah.
Which is good.
I mean, yeah, like you said, the best case scenario, best case scenario is them getting Bradley Beal.
Yeah.
Second best case scenario is them getting a top 3 pick. Those are both highly unlikely in my opinion. And then the realistic scenarios are basically being maybe 10% better than you were last year. Maybe like getting like Jeremy Grant and all these guys, right? So I don't know. And we're at some point we're gonna have to stop just like being like, oh, Cat, trade for Cat because Cat wants out, because like the Wolves are 3 above 500 right now, and they're winning.
Good, yeah.
So like we're gonna have to stop saying that at some point. So Cat's gonna have to not be the answer for all these teams at some point.
Yeah.
So yeah, it kind of sucks, but like the way things are looking, it's like I don't even think Dame's gonna be like, oh, I want out, but like it just might have to come to that, you know.
I think it's gonna get to the point where it's like the Blazers front office just sit with him and be like, yo, we missed on Bradley Beal.
Yeah.
We missed on getting a top 3 pick. We got the 6th pick instead because the lottery screwed us. We were the worst team in the league, but we got the 6th pick, great, whatever. And they're gonna be like, I think it's time to let you go, man. I think they're just gonna be like, I think it's time for us to like separate. The only hard part of that is like it makes sense basketball wise. Let's talk about all the basketball. But at the end of the day, business wise, Damian Lillard's a top 10 jersey seller. Damian Lillard's gonna get butts in the seats. We will go watch a Damian Lillard road game if the Blazers are on it and just the Blazers suck. We will still go watch a Damian Lillard road game of the Blazers because of Damian Lillard, right? So he's that good of a player where he brings in so much revenue. So business wise, it's hard to get rid of him unless he forces the trade, which I think it's time, Dame. If they miss out on Beal, they miss out on a top 3 pick, I think it's time for you to force your hand.
Yeah, I mean, there's always, because when you have Dame, you're not getting a top 3 pick. Again, this is their one chance to get it, in my opinion.
Yeah, one chance.
So yeah, it might have to come to that. Yeah. Let's do
the other Blazers trade that we
the other Blazers
trade.
Yes, let's
the
talk about
Nickeil
that
Alexander one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Jazz are sending. Yeah. So the Jazz are sending a 2022 second round pick via Memphis, and the Spurs are a 2027 second round pick. So they send 2 second round picks. Spurs get 1. Blazers get 1. And they get Nickeil Alexander and Juancho Hermo-Gomez. And the Spurs get Thomas Satoransky, which is an expiring $10 million. He's probably going to not play for them. Just sit on the bench, get expired, leave. And the Blazers get Joe Ingles, expiring, never going to play for them. He's rehabbing. Elijah Hughes. I like Elijah Hughes. I think he could shoot the 3 a little bit, play a little defense. I think he'll get some time for them. But yeah, the Jazz basically get Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who's going to get 10, 15 minutes a game, backup small forward, shoot the 3 ball, see if he can improve, get better, him or Jared Butler. Kind of like both those guys, like they both could score, both play defense. Let's see which one of you could get that 15 minutes off the bench. Like competition in the practice and stuff. And Juancho Hermo-Gomez, same thing as those guys, but at the power forward spot. Let's see how much you can play, Juancho. Let's see you push yourself. Let's see you push yourself against his practice guys. But I think they improved their depth at the cost of 2 second round picks. I think that's a good trade. Spurs, you get a second round pick and you get off a long-term contract Wancho for expiring. Good trade. Blazers, you switch prospects. You switch prospects from Nickeil Alexander-Walker to Elijah Hughes. Me and you like Nickeil Alexander-Walker, so we think that's bad for the Blazers. But I guarantee you there's going to be like some people who like Elijah Hughes as a better prospect than Nickeil Alexander-Walker. So it's a wash trade. It's a good trade for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I like Nikhil on the
Blazers.
Jazz.
Yeah.
I mean, I like them on the Blazers, but I like him
On the Jazz too, yeah.
I like him wherever he's gonna be, but the Jazz, it's a good opportunity for him for sure. And yeah, like you said, it's a wash trade. It's a very subjective trade. Do you like Elijah Hughes better? Do you like Nikhil better? And yeah, I don't know. It's whatever. Kind of a nothing trade. Random question. This is not from this trade, but Larry Nance Jr. I've literally watched like nothing, like zero of him this year, so I have no idea how good he is this year. But like, I liked him a lot last year. Oh, is he? I didn't even know.
Yeah, he's out for
Okay.
the next 2 months as an injury.
Okay.
But
That
when he
sucks.
returns, he will be the backup
Because I
power
like
forward.
him.
Because
Yeah.
Jackson Hayes has now converted to be a power forward, and he's playing so good. So Jackson Hayes is going to be the starting power forward until Fat Boy returns, which probably not going to be this season.
Probably
and by
not.
Fat Boy, I mean Zion Williamson.
Mm-hmm.
I hope he returns for the playoffs and makes a push because he is one of the most exciting players of all time, and he's he might be the most exciting player in the NBA. Like, I'm a huge fan of him. I really want him to return, but man, like, it's so annoying that he doesn't take his health serious because like it's an all-time great. Like, you could be in my top 10 all time. Like, I thought you had potential to do it, so it's just gonna suck if he doesn't return. He's got the team now. CJ,
he does.
Ingram, Herb Jones, Devontae Graham, JV, Jackson Hayes, Larry Nance. I've never been able to name a team that deep for Zion ever before.
No way.
This is the best team he's got.
Since Duke.
Yeah, since Duke. Yeah.
Literally. Yeah. Crazy,
I hope this motivates him.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think maybe he might have just like he won the body lottery, but he also kind of lost it in some ways because I think it's just so hard for him to keep weight off. And I think his like the level that he needs to take care of his body is the standard is so much higher than
James.
For other people. Yeah. Exactly, right? So like he just doesn't have that LeBron James level of dedication, but really
mentality.
Who does. Yeah. So let's. I mean, here's hoping he comes back this year, but he was supposed to come back, but like 2 weeks into the season, then it was like, okay, maybe January. Now we're halfway through February almost. So
I still believe in him. I'm having a return penciled in for late March. That's what I believe.
Right. Yeah, I just want to see him play with CJ, with Ingram, with JV. I just want to see this.
Zion with all that shooting. Oh my God, 30 and 20 Zion inbound.
Yeah. I mean, he was pretty close to that. He was 27 and he was like 27 and 9 last year or something like that. Yeah. So 30 and 20 is pushing it, but 30 and 12 is not really pushing it really. So yeah. Okay, I think we only have one more trade to talk about. That was the very first trade of trade deadline week, and that was a trade that I think both you and I really like for Cleveland because they got Karis LeVert and a 2022 second, basically sending injured Ricky Rubio, a lottery protected first, second, a few picks, and basically they traded injured Rubio, a few picks for LeVert and a pick.
Yeah, so I like it from the Pacers too because you get the Cavs pick, and the 2022 you're getting is Houston, so it's like 31st. So you get basically how much picks do they have? They have their pick. They have a decent amount of picks this draft. Like, them and the Spurs are gonna have a lot of leverage to get their young guys going, and the Pacers have a nice young picks to fill around a nice core around Halliburton and Miles Turner and Brogdon. They have a nice little thing going over there. So I think everyone likes it from the Pacers perspective because they get essentially 2 first-round picks and a 2027 second-round pick. Pretty good. And then let's talk about the actual team aspect and stuff for Cleveland. They basically get a ball handler on a 3-year deal. So this is good because he's on their contract for a long time. Who'll get you 20 points. Who'll get you 5 assists. Who can catch and shoot threes. Who will come off the bench and be a 6th man potentially next year. or even start next year and move Sexton to that 6-man role. He's just someone that's not like he's not a short-term rental or anything. He's someone that's here for the future, here for the young core. He's had great chemistry with Jared Allen before. He could make a little, he could shoot a little, he could play defense a little. He's just that perfect player, and he's from Ohio. So getting a home ground get in, I love it. I love this both ways. I just think it's a trade that was so like destined to happen. You know those trades where it's like, oh, this makes too much sense not to happen, like Bagley to Pistons.
Yeah.
Where when it happened, I was just like, oh, okay, finally it happened.
Yeah. I mean, man, like yes,
Yeah.
the Pacers got some pretty good stuff back for him. But like you said, man, like LeVert is not a rental. He's on a 3-year deal, and he's on a good deal too. Like I remember when he signed that extension back 2-3 years ago, and I was like, that is a really good price, and it's still looking pretty good. So yeah, and like Cleveland got like what they needed, right? Because they have the bigs. They have bigs, and they had 3 good ball handlers. 2 of them got injured, and so they had to bring in another one. And LeVert is like, to be honest, like kind of the best possibility without giving up too much. So I really like this, and he's there for the long haul. So yeah. W for Cleveland.
Yeah, and this is the best part. He has size. Let's say Lauri Markkanen isn't like working out. You can move LeVert to 3. When Sexton eventually returns next year. Like he has size enough to play for the 3, to play the 2. Let's say there's a really good shooting guard small forward combo, the Celtics, where if you have Sexton out there, Sexton's gonna get bodied and destroyed every single play of the game, right?
Yeah.
So he just provides so much versatility for this team next season too, when they add Sexton. And this season, he's just so important because he's going to be the secondary ball handler, the secondary pick and roll guy, the secondary everything, right? So super valuable for this season and provides immense versatility for next season. Great trade. And Houston, and the Pacers, they basically got a first-round pick, another late first-round pick, which is disguised as a second, and then a 2027 second. The reason I said Houston was because Houston could have had this Cavs core. Houston could have had LeVert.
Yeah.
Houston could have had Jared Allen, and Houston could have had all the picks.
Yeah. This Cavs core, man. This Cavs core is really special. Nice. Really nice. They're currently like 13 games above 500, and they're like in that top echelon of the East. So like adding LeVert to that, man, I like it. Cavs core quickly became like one of the best young cores in the league. Like I know everyone liked Mobley when he got drafted, but I don't think anyone was this high on them coming into the year. And I don't know, man, like if I'm picking teams that I want to be the GM/coach of, like, I don't know, they're pretty good.
Yeah, they have 3 players who could potentially, you could have a case for All-Star next season.
Like
Jared Allen should have been All-Star this year. Darius Garland is an All-Star this year. And everyone expects Evan Mobley to race into All-Star talks next season. When you have 3 All-Stars that are all under 25, and then you have Colin Sexton, LeVert, Lauri Markkanen, Cedi Osman, 6-man of the year, Kevin Love. Kevin Love right now is a 6-man of the year. Like when you add all of that stuff,
crazy.
I have a special team.
Yeah, man. I don't know what to say. I think that's a good place to end it. Did we forget a trade?
Oh, that was all everything? 16 trades.
I think we got all 16 trades in what has been the best trade deadline in NBA history. So I think that's a good place to wrap it up. All right. Thank you everyone for listening to this special Thursday trade deadline edition of the show. You can check us out on all of our social media as usual on Instagram at Stretch the Floor Podcast, YouTube STF Clips. Check that. Check our YouTube out for all the best clips from the podcast. Subscribe, leave like, comment, and then most importantly, subscribe to the podcast feed, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get them. Leave a like, rating, review because it all really helps. Thank you again, and we will see you next week.